So I've been inactive on YouTube for the past 2.5 months, and I'll get more into that later in the video, but I hadn't seen the last 2 episodes of The Power of Two, and I saw a lot of opinions on them in certain comment sections and community posts. So I watched them both today, and my thoughts are definitely a lot different than the public in my opinion. Let's start off with TPOT 18, and the public consensus with this episode was that it was the worst TPOT episode to date, and that it was just kind of boring and not that interesting. But I honestly completely disagree. I feel like that was an episode that was needed for the series. And not just story-wise, but just getting to see where the characters were that haven't been really seen in TPOT, like Lollipop, Flower, Gelatin, and those other characters. And I honestly thought this episode was really fun. I will say though, with major holes in this episode, less to do with the plot necessarily and more just the distribution of screen time. I will say this episode felt way too heavy on Blocky and Lollipop, and not giving other characters screen time I wish would have gotten screen time, like Balloony and some of these other characters, but I think it's because Balloony is going to get more screen time in TPOT or another episode with the whole announcer thing, so this could be building up to something, so I'm not holding it too accountable now, but I do wish Balloony got some more screen time, and I wish we got to see Lollipop and Gelatin work together in this episode besides Lollipop by herself. I mean, Lollipop became a lot ruder this episode, I would say, which I don't really know how much I like. And Lollipop kind of went in the opposite direction she went to in BFB post-split, which again, I'm not a huge fan of Lollipop in BFB post-split. I like her a lot more in pre-split, but it wasn't even really her pre-split self either. However, I do really like Blocky this episode. I've seen a lot of people saying they didn't like Blocky this episode, but I actually really liked him. I thought he was funny. I wish Taco also was a little bit more like her pre-split self this episode, but again, Taco was still fine. Flower and Gelatin were good, and the only thing I was kind of confused about was the match stuff, because I thought they were mad at Match the whole time. Like, I thought Match was in the wrong, and then everything kind of got cleared up really fast, which was definitely confusing, but I don't really have that much of a grudge against it, because to be honest, the whole plot I don't really care about. However, I thought the challenge was pretty fun though. A lot of people were complaining like, why is there a challenge when they're not even competing, which I guess is a good point, but the show doesn't really make sense at all, so it was kind of fun. It was funny. I like Blocky and Lollipop's rivalry when they try to get all the contestants, and then when they're fighting up the cliff, I thought that was cool. I thought their fight scene was cool. I thought Loser also was good this episode with the stuff with Winner and that leading up into TPOT 19 I thought was super cool. I thought Woody was good this episode too. I liked Woody and also Spongy together. I thought they worked well together. I thought they were a cool little duo. And I did really like seeing all the contestants again that were eliminated, or I guess aren't in TPOT. But I really wish it wasn't so focused on Blocky and Lollipop, even though those are 2 of my favorite characters. That's honestly my biggest complaint, is that distribution of screen time. And Lollipop just really wasn't Lollipop this episode. It was a really weird version of Lollipop, just way more rude and villainous than she normally is. Like, she's kind of more of like a smart aleck in a way, but in this one she was just kind of playing out rude and just doing whatever it took to get that card back. And she wasn't even interacting with Gelatin, which is also really weird. And then getting them arrested and her being really selfish. Again though, this episode was definitely not perfect, but I do like it. I did think it was somewhat of a fun episode, but I do understand why people don't like the plot of this episode, because there is a lot of stuff in it that just doesn't really add up and doesn't really make sense. I was watching this video by Because, the link in that will be in the description, and they were going over a lot of points with the plots and the characters, which I do agree with. But again, I do really like this episode in the sort of way of it not being a TPOT focused one episode, because it feel like there has been a lot of one, and obviously in TPOT 19 the whole episode was about one, so we did kind of need a refresher, and that building up in the plots for TPOT 19, I feel like the episode was necessary for that. But I wonder how this is going to shape into TPOT 20. I don't really know how that episode is going to go, but it's definitely going to be interesting. But overall, I think it was a decent episode. Definitely not the worst of TPOT. I'm gonna make that clear. There are definitely worse episodes of TPOT like in the earlier part of the season. And again, it's also not going to be like a great episode like TPOT 19 or TPOT 15 just because it is not TPOT related. And I don't even know if it really technically could count as a TPOT episode. It honestly feels more like a BFB episode. But yeah, I just would say don't hold this episode to too high of a standard, because I don't really think that's what it's meant for. And then TPOT 19. But before we get into TPOT 19, the reason why I have been gone for so long is because I am moving to college, and it's been a lot, and I've been focusing on the school and all that sort of stuff. And this episode of my channel is sponsored by my new membership. I know I've talked about it in the past, but I don't really put that much of an emphasis on it, like an advertising. Again, you don't have to join. Liking and subscribing is fully appreciated. But if you really want to help me out making these videos, because obviously doing it in college is going to be hard, and I'm going to have to work a job too. So Joining my membership would definitely help and maybe make this my full-time job at some point in the future, because that's obviously the dream goal with this channel, and it would mean a lot if you joined my membership. But again, even liking and subscribing and watching the full video can also get me there. So again, all support is appreciated. And if you do join, you do get to pick video ideas, get the episodes of my channel early, and you also get a shout out at the end of the video, and of course I'll subscribe to your channel. And now TPOT 19. I have so much to say about this episode. This episode was basically flawless, except for the fact that Snowball got eliminated. That was crazy. Why is Price Tag and Grassy still in TPOT? Snowball is the best player on that team. I understand the Book love, but Book is literally probably going to win BFDIA. She's already in another season. I want more Snowball. How did people vote for Price Tag and Grassy over Snowball? That actually makes me so mad. But again, that's besides the point. Other than that, this episode was incredible. The production of this episode was actually amazing. I know TPOT's production has been getting higher and higher, and it's been getting a lot better. And honestly, this episode just blew me out of the park, bro. Like, some of this animation, these fighting scenes, the visuals were genuinely incredible. The voice acting, I mean, I gotta give a lot of credit to the one voice actress. She has been amazing this season, and this episode, she was flawless. I think she literally was the perfect casted role for one, and I hope she gets more roles after this, because she has been an amazing voice actress, and I haven't really seen people give her the credit she deserves, and she has just been amazing. You know, when I said I only had one flaw and that was Snowball getting eliminated, I actually lied. I have a second flaw. It's, what is TPOT doing with Lai's character? I was such a Lai truther when it came to the rejoin. I was going to be so mad if Lai didn't rejoin, and I made a video being Lai's rejoin was bad, but then in TPOT 17, I felt like Lai got a lot better. But then after that, Lai, I really can't say anything good about her rejoining the TPOT, and especially this episode made me like Lai a lot less. It felt like Lai is kind of becoming a knockoff Pencil in this episode. She becomes very power hungry and kind of just doing all the exact stuff Pencil does, but just less interesting and less rootable. Like, I feel like Pencil's character, I wouldn't say rootable is the right word, but at least her character has a lot of like depth to it, and she's like a dynamic character. She is one of the faces of BFDI, and Lai is just kind of copying Pencil and doing this other like menacing stuff, and her getting mad at Death Pact really doesn't make that much sense. This just kind of came out of nowhere. Lai's character used to be like a funny character, like kind of like a lollipop, like not super villainous, but like an anti-hero in a way. But I liked Lai. She was kind of dumb, but she was smart and funny. And now they're just kind of making her a villainous evil character in this episode, which I really am just not a fan of at all. And now I'm thinking maybe other characters like Bracelety or like 8-Ball should have came back instead of Lai, because they're not really doing the right thing with Lai. She was a lot better in pre-split. But I'll go into more depth in that in a later video I make. I'm just going to stick to TPOT 19 for this episode. This also might be one of my favorite challenges of the season. I know it's not the most creative challenge or the most, I guess, interesting, but I really like the Battle Royale type of style in the Elimination, and then I realized how little contestants there were left. I'm like, oh my god, we're really getting down to it. Those double eliminations really do add up. But it was fun seeing Pencil go and kill a bunch of people, I guess, and like see how power hungry she gets for Two's powers. And I know I just kind of said it doesn't work for Lai's character, but I feel like it does work for Pencil's character because of the trajectory she's gone in the past couple TPOT episodes, and then what it leads up to at the end of the episode. But it was interesting to see her do that, and also the new alliance that was made with Winner and Price Tag I thought was interesting because they are debuters. However, both of the characters are really uninteresting, and I've kind of made that clear in my other videos. But I do like this plot line, and they could make their characters more rootable. I thought Golf Ball and Donut were really good this episode, also becoming one of my favorite duos in the whole season. I think it's really interesting seeing them. I do think it does have a similar problem to TPOT 18 with the characters not getting as so much screen time as other characters like Bottle and Tree, and it's kind of sad to see because I'm pretty sure Tree's going to get eliminated this episode, and he's one of my favorite characters, so that really sucks. But then obviously the biggest part of the episode is the ending with the 4 and Pencil fight. I mean, that fight was amazing. The animation was super cool. It was super amazing to watch. And then also one coming in and getting the powers from Pencil, and now basically no one really knows what's going to happen with this show now. Like, TPOT 20 is definitely going to be a very interesting episode to see where everything goes. And also Loser and Winner reuniting was really cool. But overall, I think this might be my favorite episode of the season. Definitely my top 3. I have to go through the rankings. I'm going to redo my episode rankings too when the season is over and BFDIA is over. So if you haven't seen that, you should go check it out. But again, this episode was amazing. The production, animation, the visuals was easily the best out of any BFDI episode ever. And the writing for the season has definitely transcended the whole entire series. I mean, you really see the talent from the people behind this show. And it's just kind of crazy because I've been literally watching this series since BFDIA 5, like right after it came out, right before they went on the hiatus, and just seeing how much the series has changed in the production and all of it has been truly amazing to watch. You know, I do have my complaints on my channel sometimes with the series, but again, it's still my favorite series ever, and I have a whole YouTube channel based around it. But again, very good episode from the team, and TPOT 18 I do think is an overrated episode. But if you did like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and watch for the next video.